Dr. Elena Rice frowned at her monitor, adjusting the sensitivity of Europa's deep space array for the third time. The energy signatures pulsing from beyond Neptune's orbit shouldn't exist. They defied known physics, appearing and disappearing like quantum ghosts across her instruments. "Computer, run diagnostic sequence Delta," she ordered, voice steady despite the chill creeping up her spine. The system confirmed what she already knew. Her equipment was functioning perfectly. Something was out there. She opened a priority channel to Earth's Unified Defense Command. "This is Europa Station. We're detecting anomalous energy patterns consistent with possible spatial distortion. Requesting verification from Sol Network." The response took 11 minutes longer than light-speed transmission should allow. By then, it was already too late. Commander Jackson Wei was finishing his inspection of the UES Dauntless when the first reports arrived. Initial confusion gave way to controlled chaos as massive alien vessels materialized simultaneously throughout the solar system. Their obsidian hulls seemed to absorb rather than reflect light, making them appear as mobile voids against the stars. "Battle stations," Wei ordered, his voice a calm center in the storm of activity. All ships formed defensive pattern Theta. Civilian vessels, immediate withdrawal to Earth's security perimeter. The Fifth Fleet responded with practiced precision, but Wei knew they were outmatched the moment the aliens fired. Beams of coruscating energy lanced through space, bypassing shields that had successfully repelled asteroids and cosmic radiation for decades. "Sir, Mars Colony reports critical dome breach," his communications officer announced, face ashen. "Lunar Command has gone silent. Earth orbital platforms are. They're just gone, sir." Wei watched the tactical display with growing horror as red indicators replaced blue across the solar system. The alien vessels were systematically eliminating humanity's defenses with surgical precision. "New contact," Tactical announced. "Massive vessel approaching Saturn. Energy signature exceeds all others by factor of 10. On the forward view screen, space itself seemed to bend as a ship the size of a small moon emerged from nothing. It made the other alien vessels look like escort craft. "Sir, they're targeting us specifically," Tactical said, voice cracking. Wei had seconds to make a decision that would alter humanity's future. All ships covering fire for the Defiant. Authorization Y Alpha 7. The UES Defiant was humanity's newest achievement. An experimental stealth vessel with prototype jump drives not yet ready for full deployment. It wasn't supposed to exist in official records. "Sir, you need to transfer your flag," his XO insisted. "The fleet needs leadership. The fleet needs a future," Wei corrected, sending the evacuation order that would transfer key personnel and data cores to the Defiant. "Lieutenant Hammond, you have the Dauntless. Buy them time." Hammond's face hardened with understanding. "It's been an honor, sir." The transfer took precious minutes as the Fifth Fleet formed a last defensive line. Wei watched from the Defiant's bridge as his former command positioned itself between them and the alien armada. "Jump drives charging, sir," the Defiant's navigator reported. 60 seconds to activation. Wei's viewport framed Earth's night side, once brilliant with the lights of a trillion sols. Now those lights were interrupted by spreading darkness as power grids failed and the hellish orange glow of impact zones bloomed across continents. 30 seconds. The Dauntless shuddered under concentrated fire, its shields failing. Still, it held position, along with the remaining ships of what had been humanity's greatest fleet. 10 seconds. One by one, the defending ships winked out of existence on the tactical display. The Dauntless was the last to fall, its reactor going critical in a final act of defiance that damaged 2 alien vessels. Jump drives engaged. As the stars blurred around them, Lieutenant Santos whispered what everyone was thinking. "They didn't just defeat us. They barely noticed us." Wei's grip tightened on the command rail until his knuckles whitened. Billions dead. Earth under siege. Humanity scattered and broken. "They'll notice us," he promised, his words carrying the weight of an oath. "Set course for the Kuiper Belt. We need to gather survivors, resources. The bridge crew stared at him, shock giving way to the first embers of resolve. "This isn't the end," Wei said, meeting each gaze in turn. "It's just the beginning of how humanity fights back." 6 months after the fall, Sarah Chen pressed herself against the crumbling brick wall as a Vraxan patrol stomped past. Their bipedal harvester units moved with mechanical precision, scanning for human life signs. Once a respected professor of comparative anthropology at Chicago University, Sarah now led 37 resistance fighters through the city's forgotten underground tunnels. "Clear," she whispered when the patrol passed, gesturing her team forward. Above them, the Vraxan had transformed Grant Park into a massive extraction facility. Its central spire pulsed with sickly green energy as it bored deep into Earth's crust. Around it, human laborers shuffled in controlled groups, their movements listless under alien supervision. "Remember the objective," Sarah reminded her team as they approached a maintenance access point. "We need their communication protocols, not a firefight." Her group had one advantage. The aliens considered humans too primitive to pose any real threat. That arrogance created blind spots in their security that Sarah exploited ruthlessly. Meanwhile, in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, mining engineer Darius Okafor guided the final drilling team establishing the 12th level of bedrock, a hollowed-out asteroid housing thousands of refugees. "Careful with those charges," he cautioned, his voice echoing in the cavernous space. "We need controlled expansion, not structural damage." Darius wiped sweat from his brow, glancing at the environmental readouts on his tablet. His innovation of modulating the settlement's waste heat to mimic normal asteroid thermal signatures had kept them hidden for months. The system required constant calibration, another item on his endless to-do list. "Sir," his assistant called, "the hydroponics section reports their first successful harvest." A small victory, but Darius allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. Their little colony might survive after all. On Titan, Dr. Elena Rice worked in a repurposed research station, her laboratory built from salvaged equipment and desperate ingenuity. Before her lay the partly dissected form of a Vraxan warrior, its iridescent carapace open to reveal the alien's internal structure. Recording autopsy session 17. She spoke to her recorder. "The neural tissue contains quantum-entangled particles, unlike anything in terrestrial biology." Elena carefully extracted a sliver of the alien's brain equivalent, placing it in a scanner cobbled together from medical equipment and modified sensors. "These patterns suggest a hive mind structure, but with hierarchical organization," she continued, excitement overtaking exhaustion. "Their warriors aren't individuals as we understand the concept. They're extensions of a central intelligence." The scanner beeped, confirming her hypothesis. Elena immediately began composing an encrypted message to Haven. Commander Wei had established Haven in the Kuiper Belt, a constantly moving flotilla of escaped vessels and repurposed mining stations. The UES Defiance served as its heart, its stealth technology keeping the fragile human sanctuary hidden from Praxan patrols. Wei studied the holographic display showing the scattered reports from resistance cells throughout the solar system. Most were desperate pleas for help he couldn't provide, but a few contained critical intelligence. "Sir, we've decoded Professor Chen's latest transmission," his communications officer announced, transferring the data to Wei's display. The stolen Vraxan communication logs revealed something unexpected, response patterns showing complete disorientation among warrior units cut off from command ships. "Look at these signatures," Wei told his officers, pointing to the data. "Their warriors become virtually non-functional when separated from their hierarchy. They're not the invincible force we thought." Lieutenant Santos, who had survived the fleet's destruction alongside Wei, leaned forward. "So they have a critical vulnerability." "Every empire does," Wei replied. "They're not a unified force, they're parts of a whole." His expression hardened with determination. "And parts can be separated." For the first time since the invasion, Wei felt something beyond survival driving his actions. The scattered remnants of humanity, fighting in isolation, might have discovered the key to effective resistance. Establish contact with Dr. Reyes on Titan, he ordered. Her research aligns with these findings. And send word to Bedrock. We need Okafor's engineering expertise. The war for Earth was far from over. In hidden bases and secret laboratories, in underground tunnels and hollowed asteroids, humanity nursed the embers of resistance. Against the overwhelming technological superiority of the Vraxen, humans held one advantage the aliens couldn't comprehend: the relentless drive to reclaim what was theirs, no matter the odds. Wei looked at the faces of his officers, seeing his own resolve reflected back. We're no longer running, he told them. Now we start fighting back. Dr. Elena Reyes hadn't slept in 72 hours. Stims kept her alert, though her hands had developed a subtle tremor. The breakthrough was worth the sacrifice. Run the simulation again, she instructed her assistant, Dr. Patel, as they huddled in Titan's cramped laboratory. The holographic display showed human brainwave patterns beside Vraxen neural signatures. Where they overlapped, interference patterns emerged, chaotic and unpredictable. It's not coincidence, Elena said, her voice barely containing her excitement. Human thought processes naturally disrupt their communication networks. We're like static to their signal. She adjusted the prototype device on the workbench, a crude assembly of salvaged Vraxen technology and human ingenuity. It amplified human brainwave patterns, converting them into targeted electromagnetic pulses. The effect is strongest when we calibrate to alpha waves, Patel noted, making adjustments. Relaxed, meditative states. Elena smiled grimly. Ironic. The calmer we are, the more we disrupt their thoughts. The device hummed to life, emitting a pulse that caused the nearby Vraxen tissue sample to lose cohesion instantly. Their first functioning neural disruptor. On Earth, Sarah Chen's resistance cell executed their most daring operation yet. Under cover of darkness, they infiltrated a Vraxen processing center on Chicago's outskirts. Their target, a live specimen from the alien hierarchy. Movement at the eastern entrance, whispered Rodriguez through their secure comms. 3 harvesters escorting something different. Sarah peered through modified binoculars. Unlike the warrior and harvester units, this Vraxen was smaller, with an enlarged cranial structure. A worker caste. That's our target, she confirmed. Team 2, initiate diversion. Explosions rocked the facility's western perimeter, drawing Vraxen security away. Sarah led her strike team through the momentary gap, using stolen access codes to penetrate the processing center. We have 4 minutes before their patrol patterns reset, she reminded her team as they moved through sterile white corridors. The worker Vraxen appeared startled when humans burst into its laboratory. It reached for a communication panel but collapsed when hit with a modified stun weapon. Sarah's team worked with practiced efficiency, securing their unconscious prisoner and extracting along their planned route. Only later, in their underground bunker, did they discover something unexpected. Separated from the Vraxen command structure, the worker didn't behave like the merciless conqueror they expected. It seemed confused, almost childlike, making simple gestures and attempting rudimentary communication. It's like it's a different being entirely, Sarah observed, recording the alien's behavior. Without connection to its commanders, it has individuality. In the asteroid belt, Darius Okafor stood back as his engineering team made final adjustments to their modified Vraxen weapon. They'd successfully reverse-engineered a plasma cutting tool, adapting it for offensive use. Ready for test firing, announced his chief technician, Torres. Bedrock's residents had gathered to witness the test, their faces showing the first real hope since the invasion. Darius gave the signal. A brilliant beam of energy lanced across the testing chamber, carving a 10-meter hole through solid asteroid rock. Cheers erupted throughout the observation deck. They finally had a weapon that could penetrate Vraxen defenses. We'll need to miniaturize the power source, Darius noted, already planning improvements. And solve the heat dissipation issues. Torres nodded in agreement. But it works. We can hurt them now. At Haven, Commander Wei brought these scattered discoveries together through their quantum-encrypted network. The tactical picture emerging from these separate resistance cells painted the first comprehensive understanding of their enemy. Dr. Rai's neural disruptor affects their command structure, Wei explained to his officers. Professor Chen has proven they function differently when isolated, and Okafor's team has developed weapons that can penetrate their defenses. Lieutenant Santos studied the fragmented reports, but we're still outnumbered and outgunned. Numbers don't win wars, Wei countered. Information does. He activated a newly decrypted Vraxin data core. Holographic displays revealed the aliens' true purpose in the solar system. Massive extraction operations centered on Earth, mining a rare element crucial for their faster-than-light travel technology. They need this element for their empire to function, Wei explained. And Earth has the largest deposit they've discovered. The implications were clear from the data. The Vraxin planned to extract all of it, rendering Earth uninhabitable within 5 years. They see us as insects on a resource deposit, Wei told his grim-faced officers. They don't expect organized resistance. He activated the secure transmission system, connecting with Sarah, Elena, and Darius simultaneously. We've been fighting to survive, Wei told the resistance leaders. Now we fight to win. For the first time since the invasion, humanity had understanding of their enemy, their vulnerabilities, and what was truly at stake. Knowledge was the first step toward victory. The makeshift conference room aboard Haven buzzed with nervous energy. For the first time since the invasion, leaders from resistance cells across the solar system had gathered in person. Security concerns had kept them isolated until now, but Wei knew they needed face-to-face coordination for what came next. Operation Prometheus, Wei announced, activating the holographic display at the center of the table. Not one desperate strike, but dozens of coordinated actions exploiting specific vulnerabilities. Representatives from Earth's scattered resistance groups studied the plan with cautious optimism. Captain Rodriguez from Mars Colony survivors, Dr. Puddle representing Titan's research team, and engineers from Darius's Bedrock colony muttered among themselves. Dr. Elena Reyes stepped forward, dark circles under her eyes, but intensity radiating from her entire being. She placed a device on the table, her neural disruptor, now refined into a more compact form. This can temporarily incapacitate their command units, she explained, activating it briefly near a contained Vraxin tissue sample. The cells immediately lost cohesion. Range is limited to 50 meters, but we're working on amplification systems. Darius Okafor unholstered his modified weapon, its components a jarring mix of human and alien technology. We can penetrate their shields, he demonstrated with a holographic simulation, but we need more advanced components to build enough for a meaningful assault force. Sarah Chen's image appeared via secure transmission from Earth, too valuable in her position to risk traveling to Haven. The Vraxin maintained strict patrol patterns, she explained, sharing detailed holographic maps. 96-hour rotations, identical routes, predictable garrison changes. They have no concept of varying their security protocols. As the summit progressed, Operation Prometheus took shape. First phase, simultaneous raids on Vraxin outposts across the solar system to gather advanced technology and test their tactical approach. Wei would lead the most dangerous mission himself, infiltrating a Vraxin research facility on Callisto. Intelligence suggested it contained information crucial to understanding the aliens' long-term plans. Questions, Wei asked after outlining the complete operation. Captain Rodriguez raised a hand. The casualty projections are high, Wei acknowledged grimly. But doing nothing guarantees extinction. The room fell silent as each person weighted personal survival against humanity's future. One by one, they nodded their agreement. 3 days later, Wei led his strike team through Callisto's icy tunnels toward the Vraxin facility. Their suits, modified with Darius's stealth technology, masked their heat signatures from alien sensors. Harvester patrol approaching, Lieutenant Santos whispered through their secure comms. 30 seconds. Wei signaled his team to press against the tunnel walls. Above them, the rhythmic thuds of Vraxan units echoed through the ice. Wei counted silently. The aliens passed exactly when predicted. Sarah's intelligence was flawless. Move, he ordered once the patrol passed. The facility's access point appeared exactly as their intelligence indicated. Using stolen credentials, they bypassed the exterior security and entered the alien research station. 14 minutes until the next patrol, Santos reminded them, checking her timer. Wei and his team moved efficiently through sterile corridors, downloading data from alien terminals using Elena's decryption algorithms. In the central laboratory, they discovered something unexpected. "Sir," called Specialist Tanaka, voice tense with surprise. "You need to see this." Wei approached the glowing containment units lining the laboratory walls. Each held suspended human tissue samples alongside alien growth medium. The Vraxan weren't just studying humans. They were growing something from human genetic material. "Download everything," Wei ordered, suddenly understanding why the aliens had taken so many live prisoners. Priority access for Dr. Reyes. As his team secured the data, warning klaxons suddenly blared throughout the facility. "Perimeter breach detected," Santos reported, checking her tactical display. "Not us. Something's happening on the east side." Wei made a split-second decision. "Tanaka, continue the download. Everyone else, prepare for extraction. We might have unexpected help." They completed their mission with 2 minutes to spare, the chaotic distraction on the facility's eastern sector drawing Vraxan security away from their position. Only during their extraction did Wei discover the truth. A separate resistance cell from Europa had attacked the facility simultaneously, unaware of Wei's operation. "They didn't make it, sir," Santos reported grimly after intercepting Vraxan communications, but they took out the facility's main communication array. Wei's jaw tightened. More sacrifices, more lives lost. But their sacrifice wasn't in vain. The data they'd secured would prove invaluable. Back at Haven, Dr. Reyes analyzed the stolen information, her expression shifting from concentration to shock. "They're not just taking our planet," she explained to Wei as the implications became clear. "Something in our DNA is valuable to them, something they can't synthesize." As reports streamed in from other raids, most successful, some with heavy casualties, the Resistance captured critical alien technology and disrupted Vraxan operations across the solar system. Then came the unexpected opportunity. An intercepted transmission revealed the Vraxan Sovereign itself planned to inspect Earth personally, dissatisfied with extraction delays. For the first time since the invasion, Wei allowed himself to feel something beyond grim determination. A spark of genuine hope flickered to life. "We won't get a better chance than this," he told his command staff, voice steady with resolve. "Humanity's future depends on what we do next." The Vraxan command post atop Mount Fuji erupted in blinding light as resistance fighters triggered Dr. Reyes' amplified neural disruptor. From his observation point 3 kilometers away, Captain Takeda watched through binoculars as alien warriors stumbled aimlessly across the compound, their neural connection to their overseers severed. "Echo Team, move in," he ordered through encrypted comms. "Remember, non-lethal takedowns where possible. We need prisoners." Similar scenes unfolded across Earth and Mars as Operation Prometheus entered its second phase with perfect synchronization. A year of preparation had led to this moment. Humanity's first coordinated global offensive. Commander Wei monitored the tactical display aboard the modified Defiant, now equipped with Vraxan cloaking technology. Green indicators multiplied across the holographic map as resistance forces secured their targets. "Perth team has captured a Vraxan light cruiser intact," Lieutenant Santos reported, unable to keep excitement from her voice. "Crew is neutralized. Engineering team moving in now." Wei allowed himself a tight smile. After a year of guerrilla tactics and information gathering, they were finally seeing the results of their patience. Send word to Okafor. His expertise will be needed. Darius received the message while leading a reverse engineering team into the captured Vraxen vessel in Australia. His expression remained focused as he approached the alien biometric security systems. They never considered we could operate their technology, he explained to his team, bypassing the neural interface with a jerry-rigged adapter of his own design. Their ships literally don't recognize us as potential pilots. The aliens' arrogance had become their weakness. They'd built systems assuming no lesser species could comprehend them, creating a blind spot Darius exploited ruthlessly. I need 3 hours, he told Perth's resistance leader. Then we'll have access to their navigation systems. On Earth, Sarah's intelligence network had expanded beyond her initial Chicago cell to include forced laborers in Vraxen extraction facilities. Messages smuggled on scraps of clothing when electronic methods might be detected revealed her most valuable discovery yet. The Vraxen rotate their command staff on a predictable schedule, she explained during her encrypted transmission to Haven. There's a 3-hour window during transitions when their security measures operate on automated systems. This intelligence proved crucial as resistance forces liberated their first small territories on Earth's surface. Towns in the Rocky Mountains, previously used as human processing centers, now flew makeshift human flags. Australian outback communities established a defensible perimeter around abandoned mining operations. For the first time, humans held ground rather than hiding in shadows. On Haven, HFY transformed the largest captured asteroid facility into a military academy, training soldiers to fight against an enemy that had no concept of human warfare. They expect us to either surrender or charge forward blindly, he told his officers during a strategy session. They have no concept of guerrilla warfare or asymmetric tactics. HFY studied the latest intelligence reports, focusing on the news that had accelerated their timetable. The Vraxen Sovereign, alarmed by unexpected setbacks, had moved its inspection tour forward. We won't get a better chance than this, he told his command staff, gathering them for an emergency briefing. Operation Prometheus must advance to its final phase immediately. Dr. Rice arrived from Titan, bringing her latest prototype, a specialized neural disruptor designed specifically for the Sovereign's unique brain patterns. The higher castes have more complex neural structures, she explained, dark circles under her eyes testifying to countless sleepless nights. This device targets those specific patterns, but with limitations. Effect duration will be approximately 80 seconds before their biology adapts. Darius joined via hologram from Australia, his team now in control of 3 Vraxen vessels. We've modified the Defiant with their cloaking technology, he reported. It can approach Earth undetected, appearing as just another Vraxen scout ship. Sarah's final transmission confirmed what they needed to know. The Sovereign will visit the primary extraction site at Geneva at exactly 800 hours in 3 days. HFY gathered his strike team, 12 men and women representing humanity's last, best hope. Each had trained relentlessly for months, mastering Vraxen technology and tactics. Our objective is clear, HFY told them during their final briefing. This isn't an assassination mission. We're capturing the Sovereign. The audacity of the plan silenced the room. Capture, not kill. The supreme leader of the invading force. It seemed impossible, but HFY's expression brooked no doubt. The Sovereign is more valuable to us alive, he explained. Not just as a hostage, but as leverage against their entire command structure. As the Defiant prepared for its most dangerous mission, HFY received reports of Vraxen retaliation against liberated territories. The aliens had responded to human successes with brutal efficiency, obliterating resistant strongholds with orbital strikes. The message was clear. The Vraxen were no longer dismissing humanity as an insignificant nuisance. They recognized the threat. They're finally noticing us, Santos observed grimly. HFY nodded, determination hardening his features. Let's make sure they never forget. Dr. Elena Reyes made final adjustments to the specialized neural disruptor with trembling hands. Unlike her previous versions designed for warrior and worker castes, This one targeted the unique neural patterns of the highest overseer caste. The emitter alignment has to be precise to the micron, she told Wei as they prepared to board the modified Defiant. We'll only get one attempt before their biology adapts. Wei nodded, understanding the stakes. How long will the effect last? 80 seconds at most, Alina replied. Not much time to secure a being that's never been captured before. The strike team, 12 elite soldiers representing Earth, Mars, and the outer colonies, performed final equipment checks. Each wore Vraxin ceremonial armor modified to fit human bodies, a disguise that would hold up to casual observation if not close inspection. Lieutenant Santos approached, her expression grave. Sarah's last transmission just arrived. The Sovereign's security detail has been doubled after the recent attacks. Wei absorbed this news without visible reaction. The plan remains unchanged. More guards won't matter if the disruptor works as designed. The Defiant slipped away from Haven, its modified engines silent, its hull now emitting Vraxin energy signatures that would allow them to approach Earth undetected. The journey would take 18 hours. 18 hours for Wei to contemplate the mission that would either save humanity or doom it entirely. As Earth grew larger in the view screen, Santos broke the tense silence. Sir, what made you decide to capture rather than eliminate the Sovereign? Wei considered the question carefully. Because we need to understand them to defeat them. Dead, the Sovereign is a martyr. Alive, it's leverage and information. Geneva, once a shining symbol of international cooperation, now lay in ruins beneath them. At its center, the massive extraction facility dominated the landscape, its central spire boring deep into Earth's crust. Surrounding it, Vraxin structures created an alien cityscape where human laborers shuffled between tasks under guard. Initiating final approach, the pilot announced. Entering Vraxin's security zone. Wei felt the old familiar tension of combat readiness, his senses sharpening. All teams, final positions. Communications discipline from this point forward. The Defiant landed at a designated security checkpoint, its false credentials accepted without question. The strike team disembarked, moving with the mechanical precision they practiced for months, mimicking Vraxin movement patterns. Sarah Chen's network had infiltrated the Vraxin security apparatus preparing for the Sovereign's arrival, providing detailed schematics of the inspection route. According to her intelligence, the Sovereign would visit the primary extraction site at exactly 800 hours. Checkpoint ahead. Santos murmured through their secure comms as they approached the inner security perimeter. Full biometric scan. This was their first major obstacle. Darius had created falsified Vraxin biosignatures that would fool standard scanners, but they remained untested against the heightened security surrounding the Sovereign. Wei led his team through the checkpoint, maintaining the rhythmic gait of Vraxin honor guards. The scanner hummed as they passed through, one by one. For a heart-stopping moment, a security drone hovered closer to Lieutenant Rivera, its sensors pulsing. Then it moved on, apparently satisfied. They were inside the inner sanctum. The extraction facility's central chamber rose hundreds of meters overhead, its walls lined with monitoring stations where Vraxin overseers directed the massive operation. At precisely 800, the chamber's massive doors parted. The Sovereign entered. Wei's first glimpse of humanity's conqueror burned into his memory. Unlike the warrior castes with their armored carapaces, or the worker castes with their enlarged cranial structures, the Sovereign moved with unsettling grace. Its luminescent body stood nearly 3 meters tall, surrounded by an entourage of devoted overseers who anticipated its every need. In position. Wei confirmed as his team integrated with the Sovereign's honor guard. Prepare for Phase 2. Elena, disguised as an overseer technician, moved toward a monitoring station near the Sovereign's planned route. The neural disruptor was concealed within what appeared to be standard Vraxin monitoring equipment. Everything proceeded according to plan until a security scan detected Lieutenant Rivera's prosthetic heart, the metallic components triggering an alarm that no amount of preparation could have circumvented. Intruders. The alarm blared in both human and Vraxan languages, the chamber locking down instantly. Plan Delta, Wei ordered as his team shed their disguises, deploying the weapons hidden within their ceremonial armor. Chaos erupted as Vraxan security forces converged on the human strike team. The element of surprise lost. Wei's soldiers fought with desperate intensity, their modified weapons cutting through alien defenses. Through the confusion of battle, Wei caught glimpses of the Sovereign being hurried toward an evacuation point by its overseers. "Doctor, now," Wei shouted to Elena across the battlefield. She activated the disruptor, its specialized pulse cutting through the chamber. The effect was immediate. The Sovereign froze mid-stride, its luminescent body flickering erratically. The overseers around it collapsed entirely, their neural connection to their leader severed. Wei fought his way through to the paralyzed alien leader, Elena close behind. They had less than a minute to secure their target. As they reached the Sovereign, an explosion rocked the far side of the chamber. Through the smoke, Wei glimpsed a familiar figure leading the human assault team. "Sarah," he breathed in disbelief. Sarah Chen and her resistance fighters had emerged from hiding, creating a desperately needed diversion. "Get to the Sovereign," she shouted across to Wei. "We'll hold them off." Wei secured the paralyzed alien leader as Elena attached a portable version of her disruptor to maintain its compliant state. Around them, the battle intensified as Sarah's team drew fire from Vraxan reinforcements. "Extraction route compromised," Santos reported. "We need an alternate path." As Wei directed his team toward a secondary exit, he saw Sarah fall under concentrated enemy fire, buying them the precious seconds needed to escape with their prize. "No," Wei shouted, instinctively moving to help her. "Commander, we can't." Elena grabbed his arm. "The disruptor effect won't last. If we lose the Sovereign now, she died for nothing." The bitter truth of Elena's words forced Wei forward, leading his team and their unprecedented captive toward extraction. Behind them, Sarah Chen made her final stand, ensuring humanity's desperate gambit succeeded. The captured Vraxan Sovereign radiated cold hatred from within its specialized containment field aboard Haven. Its luminescent body pulsed with unhealthy rhythms under the constant influence of Elena's neural disruptor, modified to maintain a delicate balance, weakening the alien leader without causing permanent damage. Wei stood before the containment field, studying the being responsible for billions of human deaths. Not with rage, though he felt it, but with calculated assessment. "Has it communicated?" he asked Elena, who monitored the Sovereign's vital signs. "Not conventionally," she replied, adjusting settings on her interface. "But I've developed a crude translation matrix based on neural pattern recognition." 3 days had passed since their escape from Geneva. The Defiant had sustained heavy damage breaking through Earth's blockade, but Darius's modifications to its engines had enabled their return to Haven. 8 of the original strike team had survived, along with their unprecedented prize. Elena activated the communication interface, its holographic display translating the Sovereign's neural patterns into approximations of human language. "Your species is an anomaly." The translated voice emerged, unnervingly melodic despite its artificial nature. "You should have surrendered like the others." Wei maintained a neutral expression. "Others. 17 species currently serve the Empire," the Sovereign continued. "You are the only ones to resist integration beyond initial conquest." Through careful questioning, Wei extracted crucial information. The Vraxan Empire spanned 27 star systems, but faced resistance on multiple fronts. Earth was merely one outpost in a vast interstellar network. They could not spare additional forces without compromising other holdings. "Why do you need human genetic material?" Elena asked directly, referencing their discoveries on Callisto. The Sovereign's luminescence flickered in what they'd come to recognize as amusement. "Your kind possesses adaptability we lack. Biological variability that strengthens rather than weakens." This confirmed Elena's hypothesis. The rigid hierarchical structure that gave the Vraxan their military efficiency also created evolutionary stagnation. They sought to incorporate human genetic adaptability into their own species. Meanwhile, across the solar system, the leaderless Vraxan forces had fragmented into competing factions. Some followed regional overseers who claimed succession rights, others remained paralyzed without hierarchical guidance. Darius coordinated surgical strikes against these emerging leaders from his new position as Haven's military engineer. Using modified Vraxan communication technology, resistance forces broadcast false orders, creating further confusion among the alien ranks. "We've liberated 28% of Earth's occupied territories," Lieutenant Santos reported during the daily briefing. "Mars colony has re-established human control over the northern hemisphere. The asteroid belt is effectively clear of enemy forces." For the first time since the invasion, humanity held more than just hidden strongholds. They controlled territory, resources, and increasingly, Vraxan technology adapted to human use. Wei used quantum-encrypted channels to contact Admiral Ketvax, the highest-ranking remaining Vraxan commander in the solar system. The alien's compound eyes widened visibly when Wei transmitted proof of the Sovereign's captivity. "Release the Sovereign immediately," Ketvax demanded, mandibles clicking with agitation, "or face complete planetary sterilization." Wei remained impassive. "We both know you lack the resources for complete sterilization. Your forces are already stretched thin across multiple fronts." "The Sovereign is replaceable," the Vraxan commander responded dismissively. "Your extinction is inevitable." Wei ended the transmission, having confirmed what they suspected. Despite the Sovereign's capture, the Vraxan would not simply withdraw. "They're preparing a major offensive," Santos warned, reviewing intelligence reports. "Consolidating their remaining forces for a coordinated strike against our primary strongholds." Wei gathered his command staff. "Then we implement the final phase of Prometheus." Alina's expression showed concern. "The neural interface is experimental. We don't know if a human operator can successfully." "I'll do it," Wei interrupted. "The risk is necessary." The plan was their most dangerous gamble yet. Using the Sovereign's biological connection to its subordinates, Alina had modified her neural disruptor to broadcast a command signal. By linking a human operator directly to the Sovereign's neural network, they could potentially force it to issue orders to its own forces. As preparations continued, Wei visited the memorial established for fallen resistance fighters. Sarah Chen's name had been added recently, alongside thousands of others who had given everything for humanity's survival. "We won't waste what you bought us," Wei promised quietly. 24 hours later, Wei sat in the neural interface chair as Alina attached sensors to his temples. The modified disruptor would create a temporary bridge between his consciousness and the Sovereign's, allowing him to impose his will through the alien's neural command network. Neural synchronization in 3, 2, 1. Alina initiated the connection. Pain beyond anything Wei had experienced surged through his mind as alien thought patterns collided with his own. The Sovereign fought viciously against the intrusion, but Wei forced his consciousness through, imposing human determination against the alien will. Through the Sovereign's perception, Wei suddenly glimpsed the vast network of the Vraxan hierarchy, countless minds linked across unfathomable distances. He selected his target. Admiral Ketvax's battle group, positioned near Mars. With excruciating effort, Wei forced a single command through the neural network. Attack. The effect was immediate and devastating. Vraxan ships opened fire on their own command vessel, destroying it completely. Chaos erupted throughout the alien fleet as contradictory orders flowed through their hierarchy. Wei collapsed as Alina severed the neural connection, blood streaming from his nose and ears, but his face showed grim satisfaction. That was 1/3 of their remaining fleet, he informed the stunned Admiral Ketvax in their next communication. "Shall we continue the demonstration, or would you prefer to discuss withdrawal terms?" 3 years after the Vraxan invasion, Admiral Jackson Wei stood on the observation deck of the newly rebuilt Lunar Command Center. Through the vast, crystalline viewport, Earth's blue sphere slowly rotated below, its landmasses showing the scars of occupation, but also the unmistakable lights of recovering cities. The extraction sites are showing the first signs of recovery, Dr. Elena Rice reported, standing beside him. Her tablet displayed environmental data from regions once thought permanently damaged. The reclamation techniques derived from Vraxen terraforming technology are accelerating the process exponentially. Wei nodded, his eyes never leaving Earth. 6 months had passed since the last alien ships departed the solar system, taking their captive sovereign with them. The uneasy accord between humanity and the Vraxen had been hard-won through a combination of force, negotiation, and ultimately, mutual recognition. "Admiral, the representatives are ready," Lieutenant Santos announced, now wearing the insignia of Wei's second-in-command. Wei straightened his uniform and turned from the viewport. Today marked the formal establishment of the Solar Defense Alliance, humanity's first unified military and civilian authority spanning Earth and all colonial territories. The new Geneva Memorial dedication will follow the signing ceremony, Santos added quietly. Wei's expression softened momentarily. The massive monument, centered on a life-size statue of Sarah Chen leading civilians to safety, had become humanity's sacred site, honoring those who gave everything in humanity's darkest hours. Darius Okafor joined them as they walked toward the conference chamber, his prosthetic arm, a marriage of human and Vraxen technology, gleaming under the lunar facility's lights. As chief engineer of the Alliance, he had overseen the integration of alien technology into human infrastructure, always careful to adapt rather than merely adopt. "The first ships with the new drive systems will be ready for testing next month," he reported, based on Vraxen principles but entirely human-built. In the conference chamber, representatives from every remaining human settlement had gathered. Once rival nations now sat together, their old conflicts rendered meaningless by the shared experience of near extinction. 3 years ago, we faced annihilation. Why began? Addressing the assembly. Today, we stand united not just as survivors, but as architects of a new chapter in human history. The signing ceremony proceeded with solemn dignity, establishing not just military protocols, but ethical guidelines for the technology gained through sacrifice. Humanity would advance, but they would chart their own course rather than simply following the path of their former conquerors. Later, at the new Geneva Memorial, Wei stood before the assembled crowd as the monument was unveiled. The granite base bore a simple inscription: "When all seemed lost, we found ourselves." "We honor not just those who died," Wei told the gathered survivors, "but what they died for. Not just resistance, but renewal. Not just survival, but transformation." As twilight fell across the recovering landscape, Wei returned to Lunar Command for a final briefing. The day's ceremonies were important, but humanity's vigilance couldn't waver. The Vraxen had withdrawn, but the terms of the accord included regular diplomatic contact. They were no longer invaders, but neither were they truly allies. "Admiral," the communications officer called urgently. "We're receiving a transmission from the Arcturus sector, non-Vraxen origin." The command center fell silent as the implications registered. Another alien species, one previously unknown. "They're requesting direct communication with the humans who prevailed," the officer continued, excitement barely contained in his professional tone. Elena and Darius joined Wei at the communications array as the transmission resolved into a visual signal. The beam that appeared on screen was unlike anything they had encountered, not the rigid carapace of the Vraxen, but a fluid, almost luminous form that shifted as it spoke. "Greetings, defenders of Earth," the translated voice emerged with surprising warmth. "We have observed your resistance against the Vraxen sovereignty with great interest. You are not alone in your stand against their expansion." Wei exchanged glances with his companions before responding. "We welcome peaceful contact with your people. May we know who addresses us." "We are the Alturian Concord, a coalition of species who have maintained independence from Vraxen dominion. For centuries, we have contained their expansion through careful balance. Your unprecedented success against their forces has disrupted this balance. For better or worse? Elena asked cautiously. The alien's form shifted in what might have been the equivalent of a smile. That remains to be determined, but we believe there is much we might learn from each other. The Vraxins' greatest weakness has always been their inability to adapt. Humanity has demonstrated adaptation is your greatest strength. As they prepared to engage in humanity's first diplomatic exchange with potential allies, Wei thought of the long journey from that desperate escape aboard the Defiant. From the brink of extinction, humanity had not just survived, but emerged stronger, more unified, and with a deeper understanding of their unique qualities. The path forward would not be easy. Earth still bore the scars of occupation. Millions had been lost, but looking at the faces of those who had endured alongside him, Elena with her brilliant mind, Darius with his engineer's vision, Santos with her unwavering loyalty, Wei felt something he had almost forgotten during the long years of resistance. Hope, not just for survival, but for a future where humanity would take its place among the stars on its own terms. When all seemed lost, Wei quoted softly from the memorial inscription, "We found ourselves." And in finding themselves, humanity had discovered its greatest truth, the unwavering will to prevail against all odds.